I want to feel human sometimes. I want to feel like I have bearings. I want to feel like I'm real. Yeule said in an interview with Pitchfork. The internet and internet culture is a very interesting thing to me. It is what shaped me and what a large chunk of my content currently revolves around. I often feel like a lot of people view the internet as this singular entity rather than a nebulous labyrinth. The internet is a force of evil. People on the internet are insert stereotype. Why is everyone on the internet like this? The fact that two people can describe themselves as chronically online while not having any online consumption patterns in common is a testament to this. Yeule perfectly depicts what it's like to lose yourself online, as well as the search for authenticity through online and offline connections. The arc of the entire discography is especially interesting as a result. I think their albums can be split into two parts, pre-Softscars and Softscars to present day, both sonically and philosophically. Serotonin II, their debut album, is their most ambient-focused project, with multiple interludes such as See You Space Cowboy and Nuclear War Post-Fault. It's deeply dissociative. This is an album I think is best enjoyed at night, alone in your room, half asleep yet still restless. In this sense, this album mirrors how Yeule described Björk in their 2019 interview with Dazed. I thought what she made was really different, like how it affected my head. It's the kind of music you need to be alone with to really listen to. This album discusses love, the internet, and escapism through it, as well as mental health issues. Poison Arrow, the intro, has always stuck out to me due to how enchanting and ethereal it sounds. It is such a beautiful opener and one of my favorites of all time. There's barely any lyrics in here, allowing their production to really shine and really immerse you into the album. Its music video feels like a recreation of open world RPG games with the dreamy lighting and settings. Most of this album's commentary on the internet is more implicit, whether it's through a frequent focus on escapism or scattershot lyrics. Keep me alive, follow you into the light, there was one lasting glow. However, Pixel Affection is a standout lyrically, directly talking about their connections to people online and a detachment from the real world. Pour my heart into simulation, digital and reciprocation, I'm staring at the screen you live in. In an interview with Dazed, they say this, which is probably more relevant more than ever. Pixel Affection was meant to be a satirical critique on the fear of internet culture and the invisible barrier which separates millennials and Gen Z from everyone else because of the difference in how digitally integrated these groups are. There are ideas of AI research being the start of the end, the fear of generating self-aware AIs, and the possibility of a fully integrated prosthetic human. Can I be frank? I never viewed it as satirical. Maybe it's because I directly relate to it due to my own digital exposure, but I viewed it, and honestly still view it, as a very honest view of online relationships as well as parasocial interactions. Or perhaps it's because I had first listened to the song in 2024, therefore I was divorced from the pre-generative AI takeover landscape this song was released in. Paired with the music video though, it's a completely different story. It literally shows them being turned into a robot because of implied overindulgence in digital media. Which, doesn't that mirror statement often said by technophobes about how these damn phones are the problem and turning people into robots? Reverie also talked about an online relationship and the failure of said relationships. I'd watched you from afar, but I still don't remember how you fell away from me, they said in verse 2 and the bridge. As for this album's discussion of mental health issues, Pretty Blondes is very explicitly about an eating disorder, even down to the title. The music video depicts an anxiety attack and food rotting in a time-lapse. They are also seen destroying food and sinking into themselves as the music video goes on. Disassociation and visual hallucinations are also brought up a lot, such as on the tracks Blue Butterfly and Pokeboy. Veil of Darkness, the closer, is a real outlier here, starting calm but slowly breaking apart until noise envelopes the track. These lyrics from the outro are very telling. When the world I live in has me wounded within, so I'll sleep, oh I'll sleep. I'll sleep when the day comes for me to awake. This album is my personal favorite Yeule album for multiple reasons which I'll get into later. Glitch Princess is easily their most ambitious album. Seriously, starting your sophomore album with a 3-minute experimental spoken word track and then ending it with a 4-hour and 44-minute ambient track is ballsy. Sonically, this album is also a major left turn from Serotonin II, having a darker sound and an introduction of glitchy vocal processing effects such as on the intro and Flowers Are Dead. While Serotonin II felt like floating in an isolation tank, Glitch Princess feels like realizing after months that your life has meshed together and that you've been observing yourself in third person. This disassociation is both a coping mechanism as well as a philosophical detachment from traditional identity labels. The first reason for this being my personal favorite Yeule album is because of how dark it is. All of their albums tackle mental illness and relationships, but this album in particular is especially confessional. Some of the songs on here feel more like conversations than actual tracks. The music puts you in that same fractured, fragile state that they likely were making it. The intro titled My Name is Nat Shemale, which isn't actually their real name, just an artist's pen name, is a monologue acting as an introduction to both themselves and the themes of the album.
My name is Nat Shemale. I am 22 years old.
The lyrics talk about eating disorders, escapism through multiple mediums, and also their feelings towards gender. It's also the first time which they allude to being non-binary in their music. The song is short, however, and gets cut off. There's this constant heaviness throughout the whole album, with little reprieve except for Don't Be So Hard on Your Own Beauty and Bites on My Neck, which are two significantly more upbeat songs. They constantly refer to themselves as being on the brink of death, as well as being damaged. Additionally, self-harm is mentioned multiple times on this album. The last two tracks, Friendly Machine and Mandy, serve as the emotional climax of it, and are the most unnerving tracks they've ever made to date. I feel both of them as one song because of how they complement each other emotionally. Friendly Machine feels like a stream of consciousness. The lyrics point blankly address what has been alluded to the rest of the album. The Friendly Machine talked about in the song refers to a noose. With this context, the song reads as them contemplating suicide on the edge of a breakdown. And the last song, Mandy, is that breakdown. Mandy is a short, intimate conversational track where Yeule personifies their self-destructive thoughts and tussles with them. There's backing vocals of them crying. When the chorus comes, the beat progresses into a heart monitor-like rhythm. It has one verse purposely cutting itself short before a hard conclusion can be reached. So much of this album feels alien, though Serotonin II had briefly explored themes of post-humanism. This album further leans into it, as the cover would indicate. Yeule calls himself a cyborg entity, a reference to a cyborg manifesto, an essay which we've cited multiple times, had clarified and given them a framework for the overarching themes of their music. They refer to post-humanism as a detachment from identity and gender categories. As of late, Shemale's most prominent interest is in cyborg theory. Thinkers like Donna Haraway and Anna Bausmo, whose critical lens on gender and technology has helped them clarify what it means to be non-binary, they say on Pitchfork. I think this abstract from a cyber manifesto summarizes everything I have to say about this pretty well. Cyberpolitics is the struggle for language and the struggle against perfect communication, against the one code that translates all meaning perfectly, the central dogma of phallocentrism. Yeule had also said this in a 2021 interview with Music Tech after the release of their single Friendly Machine. The labels which are put on me, begins Shemale, Asian young female artist. When I started calling myself a cyborg entity, I felt comfortable because then I didn't have to try to relate to the labels that are put on me. It created this more solidified idea of my relationship with my body and perception of myself. Yeule describes Softscars in an interview with DIY as a 90s emo throwback sound inspired by the pandemic and its unpredictability, and my desire for comfort during it. It's also the first album where they seem to move away from their previous artistic persona of an entity or something distant. Instead, parts of the album show them embracing their more human side and their own reality. The title, Softscars, expresses their desire to embrace their scars and imperfections. Scars often get this reputation of being scary, of not vilified, being almost a hardy badge of honor. See the phrase, battle scars. But sometimes you don't get stronger from your scars, they just show you're human. Despite previously referencing the human form in their art, their reputation as a digital native and a self-proclaimed non-binary cyborg entity has unsurprisingly had them pinned as a more otherworldly creature. Softscars and its reflection on such a physical and human act as scarring, in a way sees them beginning to consolidate these two halves. In a Pitchfork interview from this era, they also say this: "Has your interest in post-humanism and cyborgs evolved as you've worked on this album? Post-humanism and cyborg theory came from a deep hatred for my body. A lot of my struggles came from gender dysphoria and eating disorders, which very much have to do with a physical form. Now, I want to feel human sometimes. It's like I turned into an AI and my soul left my body, and now I'm an AI trying to find out what it's like to feel like a human being. I was obsessed with total digital simulation because it was my only form of escape. If only I could be real enough to love," Yeule says on the outro of Ghost. That line always stood out to me. I interpret it both literally and figuratively. Literal in the sense of them feeling detached from others in relationships and also viewing themselves as this non-human entity. And figuratively in the sense of their partner loving them more as a concept instead of the person they actually are. In contrast to the glitchy vocal processing on Glitch Princess, their vocals on Softscars sound more rough around the edges and are relatively untouched. Though the way the vocals are is an obvious throwback to 90s emo, as I mentioned earlier, I also think it's a very intentional choice symbolically. A lot of Softscars talks about their evolving relationship with their bodies, so it's appropriate that the vocals sound more frail and human. A smaller side bit of Softscars is also them reconciling with parts of themselves that they may want to suppress. For example, Sulky Baby is a song which they describe as an ode to their younger self, which lyrically had been inspired by their old journals. They're looking back at that less mature, isolated, and depressed self, likely them from their childhood, and wanting to console them. At the same time, it's difficult for them because they're also still not doing good mentally at that moment. You can see this dynamic between their younger and current self visualized through this song's music video. Their younger self has a fresher cut across their face, and their older self has a darker scar in its place. A smaller aspect of Softscars that stood out to me was the references to other artists on the lyrics of For You I 12 and the final song Aphex Twin Flame. I've always had a soft spot for lyrics that directly reference other artists, see For the First Time by Black Country New Road, and it perfectly fits here. Artificially, you're so fucking special. I wish I was special. An obvious reference to Creed. This homage to these artists feel very appropriate, considering their constant referencing to the art and music which had provided them solace growth growing up and in the present day. Yeule expands on this in the caption for their next album, which I'll get to later. This is easily their most straightforward album, and an album I think will signal a shift in their sound from here on. For one, they've been talking about how 90s rock acts had been inspiring their music and songwriting since 2022, and this feels like the apex of that. I've seen a lot of people saying they departed from what made them unique with this album, whether it's the exploration of the internet or their nerdy references. I disagree, I just think it's less explicit. I wanted to see how I could incorporate the use of weapons without it seeming like it's touching on killing other people, but rather bringing in aspects of gameplay and fantasy, or what you see in famous cyberpunk TV shows or anime or films. They stay on a stereo gun. If you look closer, the gun in the cover is actually a lighter. They also said in that same interview that the VFX and aesthetics of the music videos from the era were inspired by video game physics and stars. There is, however, a near complete shift away from the ultra-human aspects of their previous work, likely due to the sentiment they shared about wanting to feel more real when talking about Softscars, and potentially due to the evolving landscape around AI. The songwriting is also more straightforward and fantastical. It's characterized by a strong sense of desire and hardcore passion. There's still exploration of identity in relation to technology, see The Girl Who Sold Her Face, likely based on a real story about her girl selling her face to AI for advertising purposes. As well as talking about music labels, the lens of identity on this album shift from being more abstract to being more blunt. There was a lot of obsession and desire and unrequited feelings. These songs were all processing trauma. Writing music is a very beautiful way to process thoughts and experiences that are very emotionally unbearable in the service of the same emotional truth. When announcing the album, Yeule said this: I salute to all the artists who walked alongside me through the light and fire. With just a flickering candle glow of an idea in my mind and nothing more than a shadow, you held my hand and gave me the pain to mark its form into reality. I admire and love you all devotedly. The nature of creation is a temptatious one. Creation of art, creation of memory, creation of all things. I view this album as a full lean into their influences, as well as a launching point for further exploration on later albums. I think there's a case for every Yeule album being your favorite, though Glitch Princess may be my all-time favorite. My favorite album of theirs perpetually shifts based on my mental state, as well as my musical preferences. As of now, my current favorite album of theirs is Serotonin II, as I've been lately enamored with ambient music. But every single album of theirs creates universes for you to lose yourself in and provides content for you to analyze and feast on for months. They've slowly grown to be my favorite artists of all time. The most relatable aspect of their music for me is how they express their own emotional volatility, as well as their complex relationships with the internet. We're also both sapphic Asian femmes, which is a very large contributing aspect to why I relate to them so much. They're so refreshing to me. I often refrain from emotionally connecting to the musicians I love as people now because they often disappoint me. But I've made an exception this one time. As for how I discovered their music in the first place, I discovered them in late 2024 after watching I Saw the TV Glow. I really related to the film and loved their cover of Anthems for a 17-year-old girl. Shortly after, I listened to Softscars and immediately fell in love with their music. I loved how atmospheric it was and really connected with their lyrics. I was at a point of my life where I was looking for comforting music, and their music was exactly what I needed. And looking back, I couldn't pick an artist better suited to be on the soundtrack for I Saw the TV Glow. The film is in direct congruence with the themes of their music: disassociation, queerness, more specifically transness, and identity exploration. Jane Scronburn, the director for this movie, also directed We're All Going to the World's Fair previously, which explored similar themes, except using online forums as a vessel for storytelling instead of TV. When asked about that song and I Saw the TV Glow in general on Pace magazine, they'd say this: the movie touches on this idea of having an idealistic view of a person, because if you have a view of something or concept on screen, it idealizes it. It reflects a lot about the way you put things on a pedestal or create fantasies. Sometimes that translates into being part of the computer sphere or the media sphere. That's what happened to me. That's still happening to me. Sometimes the pink opaque feels more real than real life, Tara says in the beginning of I Saw the TV Glow. In the film, the pink opaque is a metaphor for media which provides an escape for its viewers, which can be extended to the internet as a whole. The film very explicitly shows the process of becoming your true self as a queer person, as well as the dissolution of identity as a byproduct of said escapist media. The people in the pink opaque all have the symbol of a pink ghost on their backs, representing their unity with the show. But as Isabel got older and revisited the pink opaque, she looks back at it with embarrassment, seeing the scenes as more cheap and cheesy than she had remembered it. Yet it clearly had a significant impact on her. I feel Yeule's discography is a documentation of their relationship with the internet, technology, and their ever-changing view of their identity. What makes it work so interesting to me is how vulnerable and unflinchingly honest it is. Through compiling all their interviews for this video, it's really hit me how intentional they are with creating worlds to escape through their music. In the sense, they're trying to recreate the same feeling that they'd gotten from their time spent playing games and being on Tumblr when they were much younger. Everything about their art feels so human. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, press a like. If you dislike this video, press a dislike and let me know why you disliked it in the comments below. Thank you so much for my channel members. And as always, I'm Gabs and have a nice day.